Hello and welcome to Reawakening the Sacred Self, deepening our connection with our authentic soul, where we have gathered together Indigenous elders, wisdom keepers, spiritual teachers, healers, and inspirational speakers to share their wisdom and insights as to how we can integrate our spiritual practices more deeply in our everyday lives, thus deepening our connection with our authentic soul. My name is Frances Billinghurst. I'm your host for and the creatrix of this event, and I'm coming to you from Kaurna country here in South Australia. As such, I acknowledge the Kaurna people of the Adelaide Plains as being the traditional custodians of this land upon which I reside. So, Mani Ngā Padni, everyone. Thank you for joining me. Now, if you attended Reawakening the Sacred Self 2023, you may be familiar with my next guest because I am really delighted to acknowledge that Alicja Aratyn has returned. Welcome, Alicja. Thank you for returning to this conference.
It is my great pleasure to be here. Thank you.
And the pleasure is all ours. So for anyone who is not familiar with the work, over 30 years, Alicja has lectured and taught all around the world on dowsing, turning this strictly scientific knowledge into a delightful, comprehensive, and practical application that can be used within our everyday lives. She has systemized and restructured the old teaching systems, resulting in creating her unique system that is called the science of dowsing. Alicja is a chemist with a first degree in Master in Environmental Engineering from Warsaw Polytechnic University. She's also a Reverend with CIMM, which is the Canadian International Metaphysical Ministry, recognised by the Canadian government, and carries a doctorate in metaphysics. Her engineering background and interest in metaphysics and esotericism has occurred from a very early age and brought about her to the understanding of the role of holistic healing in today's life. This means that Alicja is also a very gifted healer. She sees people's energy fields and can remove many types of disturbances from past lives out of this reality, energy forms and its extraterrestrials. She helps people all around the world from many walks of life to bring about positive changes and desired effects in their lives. Now, Alicia's metaphysical training was from her country of origin, from Poland, and as such, it was based on old European school of Radithesis, an ancient Egyptian school of vibrations and sacred geometry. And according to Alicja, dowsing is the best example of a direct application of sacred geometry, and it can actually improve our health conditions, the quality of our life performances, our relationship status, and it's also the collaborator for our own prosperity. We are greatly blessed that Alicia's presentation is bridging science and spirituality as a key to deepening our soul connections. So Alicja, once again, thank you. And for the benefit of our audience who may not have been with us last time, can we maybe commence with a bit of a background as to how you got into dowsing, especially from this background that you have of a chemist and an environmental engineer?
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. Well, as I often say, from the early age, I was seeing different things. And of course, as a child, you never know. You know, for you, it's a part of life and it's not pleasant part of life. But that's how it was for me. And because I didn't understand, I kind of promised myself. I don't like to promise anything, but at that time I did promise myself that when I will be older, I will understand it. I will do what I can to understand it. And even though we, with age, as we grow up, through teenagers, say, age and so on, we keep forgetting our promises, even to ourselves. Then when I look perspectively or retrospectively, actually, into my life, I understand that that what brought me actually to engineering, to understand the mechanics behind the scene. What is happening, how those processes takes place, and so on. And that's also the chemistry, because chemistry teaches us about the numbers. However, it doesn't seem like, but it does teach us about the numbers, because every atom has a certain amount of electrons and protons and neutrons and all this. But also because when we connect them, we create something. So we really manifest things based on the chemical connections between them. And it's it was interesting without understanding the metaphysical part of it. It was very interesting to me, and that's why I was kind of attracted to chemistry. Never really practiced chemistry in my life, but it brought me to environmental engineering as a consequence of it. And very soon I realized that what we do as an engineers, specifically to water, to rivers and bigger aquants of water, we actually destroy instead of help. And that's why I left it. And I was working in a publishing house, changing completely my life, but just because I was freelancer, a journalist at that time, just for pleasure. Then I decided to go into art, to pursue my interest in art. And I was editing the books about the movie industry and theaters and all this stuff. And then the movement of 1968 and 1980 came, and solidarity time, for those who remember those times. Well, we are approaching similar situation now, but that was life-changing time for very many of us there. So that was, and actually that was the time when I got interested in very deeply in metaphysics and philosophy, since I wanted to understand the psychology of the crowd, why people go together, why they risk their life to fight for common ideas and so on. And I was very young at that time, so I didn't participate in it. I was just a very young observer of those things. And then I moved to Canada due to, well, different life situations, and they are not important for us right now. But I ended up in this new country knowing absolutely nothing about it, and decided to build my life here. And my real beginning of application of dowsing in my life started there, because my ex-husband is a lawyer back in my fatherland. And therefore, my fight wasn't really very easy about my son. But I won everything what I wanted, which means I gave him absolutely everything what was there. in exchange for one signature that my son can be with me. So since then, we started to build our life here. And since then, my hobby became my profession, and my profession became my hobby. And that's the beginning and the end of the story.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing. And I can resonate with that personally, because I'm one of these people who I like to understand why things happen and how, especially when we're looking in the area of metaphysics. And you mentioned, why people gather, why people have certain sort of personality traits as well. So I never thought of having sort of a more engineering background would actually underpin and sort of give that little bit of an insight as to why we do things the way that we do. And this brought
I'm sorry.
No, that's good.
Just
go ahead.
Just helps you, in my opinion, and based on my own experience, it helps you, in a sense, lift one of the veils which we have and peek behind and see, oh, that's how it works. Okay. So it's like you have a watch and then you use it, but you never think why it works, unless as a child you have this need to open it up and see all those gears moving there. And it's so fascinating, especially with old watches, and you see them and you say, oh, that's how it works. Wow. So it's complex, but it's also very simple if you grasp the concept. And that's what I enjoy the most when I teach or when I consult people, to open their eyes on different way of looking on their lives. And very often I hear from my clients is, I've never looked at my life this way. It's very interesting, but it's also new to me. And, sometimes people have spectacular results. Sometimes it takes longer, but the fact that they can kind of rediscover themselves by looking at themselves from different point of view and looking at the whole universe and our reality on the world, because if we all know that, especially now in today's world, which is very divided, we have people who looking at this from spiritual point of view. Let's not go into politics, but there are people who say, okay, so I don't want to know anything about it, about the bad side of it, because I'm there, and I would like to manifest this. And some people are, no, we have to be here. We have to, in a sense, control and know what is going on and participate and support one side or the other side or whatever. But the hardest thing is, and it's very, very hard to achieve on personal level, is to be in both and still keep the calmness and our desire for betterness of all of us on one hand, but knowing what is going on here from both sides' point of view, and not get scared and not lose this. Okay, so without being over involved in one part of it, not by exclusion of one part of life, but rather by creating this almost excellent mixture of both, and never forget who we are, that we are all one. So your liver is my liver. That's right. And that's why we can pick up the conditions, different conditions, not because there is virus of bacteria or whatever, because bacteria will not survive in our body if we, by emotions, will not create specific environment for this bacteria to grow and multiply in our body. So we can be in our presence without picking up the sickness. Or we can do that. That's right, by exchange, by sharing similar experiences, emotions, and so on. So it's very, very interesting if we look at life and at our existence and our role in the world and in other people's life. You know, I remember the beginning of COVID when there were healers who were saying, I'm not taking anyone who is in the brackets of 2 weeks after vaccination. All right. And I was thinking, why? Why aren't you helping people who are in need? And you claim that you are very good healer, and you can, if you are, then we should be able, through our vibrations, with maybe help with pendulums and things like this, by creating the protective shield, whatever ones do to keep ourselves safe during this interaction with other people, then why don't we do it? And why wouldn't we take people just because either they think they made a mistake and they want to correct it, or they pay consequences of it and they want to correct it? Whatever, they are looking for help. So if we are healers, then we're supposed to be of service, not when it's beautiful and sunny day, but also when people are in very, very deep, harmful, in their opinion, condition. And there is no hope and no help from other sources.
I think you're just sort of touched a very important part, especially for those of us who are healers, and it doesn't matter what area of healing that we sort of step into, and basically anybody can be a healer themselves, is that sometimes we need to put our own perceptions, our own opinions on things to the side, because as you said, when we step into these gifts, when we've been given these gifts, they are a gift for all of humanity. And yeah, we need to sort of like move beyond the ego and open ourselves very more up to higher dimensions, our soul consciousness, our soul purpose. And you did mention dowsing. So can we sort of bring all those threads together as to how you found dowsing to be such a beneficial way in healing? And you use dowsing more and in different ways to what maybe people today are familiar with dowsing, like answering yes or no questions, because you use it in a whole different and deeper area.
Yes. So, and that's why I created the systems, the science of dowsing, just because, country, or actually Europe, when I came from, people there know dowsing in their scientific aspect of it, which means deeper than self-discovery, for a lot longer time than here. And it was from the very beginning based on Egyptian tradition. So rather vibrational tradition than anything else. So it wasn't self-discovery. It was because in Europe, of course, there are no packets of people here and there as we have in North America, or in Australia, actually, but Europe is very crowded. So people exchange the information very fast. and new discoveries and things like this. And scientists who were interested in this type of vibrational, not medicine at that time, but they were physicists, so they were interested in vibration of shapes, which is called sacred geometry as well. Okay, so so it was popular and it was part of it. And of course, not everyone does there, but very many people do. Therefore, I was introduced to dowsing as a probably teenager, and always had something with me because that was fun. And also when I saw those strange scenes from the other kind of invisible part of life, it helped me also to find out if it's true or not, because as a child, you do not really ask your mom, do you see this? Do you see this guy standing here? Or something like this. So, so it helped me to distinguish between material life and not material life. And later on, as an engineer and as a technician, I found out that that there is more to it than naked eye can see or physical eye can see, that there is whole vibrational world which we can study deeper and understand. And that's how I was introduced to therapeutic pendulums, what I called here, just because we cannot say healing pendulums, which is allowed in Europe, which means specific shapes based on sacred geometry, which can allow us to receive the energy from this object, right? And of course, we know that we can receive energy from the objects because there is many objects, many holy pictures, for example, many structures which emit the energy. So we know it. But this is very small thing which you can have in your, in your pocket always, or in your purse, and it helps you. And because it releases the energy, it also influences your own energy field, and it strengthens it, enhance it, and purify it. So the anger is not with us that long. Disappointment and all those limiting emotions are not staying with us that long, because we have constant company of energy source. Okay, so on the one hand, we have our own connection with God, Allah, whatever you call this source, or this highest authority for you. Okay, and on the other hand, you have this small thing which can emit the energy to give you also very important part of our activity, which means boost of self-esteem. Because majority of healers, now there are two types of healers: those who are full of themselves and they say, I am the best, come to me, no problem. Any problem, I'm solving it. But bigger group of healers are those who have very low self-esteem. And they say, well, I will do my best, but I'm only a tool. I only, the source or God transmits energy through me. And it's very interesting, because if one is, for example, mathematician, okay, finished university and he's mathematician, he may be very lousy mathematician, but because he has a paper which says mathematician, master of mathematics, then they think they are mathematicians. They are everything bad, but they can prove it. And healers do not. They have only themselves. So the tool like dowsing, like therapeutic pendulums, can help people to say, okay, I may not be the best healer of the world, but I have my helper. And this releases the energy. So my energy, even if it's limited, plus this energy of this object, we all together will create an environment in which we can help someone. And we can help ourselves, of course, when we are in need. You know, very often, like one waits even for emergency, and it takes 20 minutes. If one is lucky, but let's say 20 minutes, then over those 20 minutes, I can use the therapeutic pendulum to clear my energy field from anything what is non-beneficial to me, and also supply myself with the frequency which is healing in specific situation. Okay. I run this, not public, but if someone is interested, of course, you can contact us and become a member, Scientific Dowsers Group. And we meet monthly. And we recently talked a few months ago about stem cells, because I thought, well, you know, people spending enormous amount of money on different things, you know, which you glue to your body, self-adhesive things like this, to heal your body, to activate stem cells. But I'm thinking, all right, so if so, and we have something what release, well, those release gold light, both of them, but there are those who release white light, okay? Then it depends on the shape, basically. Then maybe I can use those frequencies to actually activate stem cells, specific type of stem cells, to do this, to do the same, and there will be no additional cost. And we can do it for other people as healers. So because there is no accident, no incidents in the world, so it happened very shortly after I came back from Europe, and I fell down the stairs, and I broke patella in one of my knee. So I was really bedridden for some time. And I thought, if so, then let's be a guinea pig, Alicja, and let's try on yourself. If you are so smart, then heal this knee with, with stem cells. And it did work over a few days. My knee was so much better. And then I started to talk about it with my group members, and then with my friend whose actually husband is quite sick, with let's say long-standing condition. Okay, and she said, you cannot believe, but the thing which happened to him theoretically was irreversible, and now they are. And now they are actually, he actually is better. And so I thought, well, that's another way how we can connect science with metaphysics and understand those things, because we are in Aquarius era. Aquarius is about I know. The theme for this 2000 years or 2100 and plus is I know. It's not Pisces when the title was I believe and I am. Actually, I believe was previous 2000 years. I am, but it's I know. So we need to know because we know who we are right now. And now it's time to find out how can we do this? What are the mechanics behind it? Because I don't want only believe. I want to know how it works. It's a lot easier for our intellect, for our physical body to accept certain things which happens in our life when we not only say, God helped me, but we know our role in it. It's not that there is no help but us, but we know what to do if something like this happens again, or variation of it, because probably identical situation will never ever happen again, since there is no need for repetition of the same. But in other configuration, it can be orchestrated this way that if we have to progress further, we need to look one more time at the situation like this from different angle. And then, as I said, the therapeutic pendulums can help you by support your need. Because there is another aspect who I'm talking to, who hears me. That's right, because majority of people say, I'm not in the spot yet because I don't hear. And I said, you don't have to hear. The point is they hear you. That's right. So if you trust that they hear you, not because there is a magic on the world, but because we are one. And I actually, 2 months ago, finished the course, the pilot course, which was called Magic, the Principles of Energy Work. And we are now at the process of finishing, re-recording everything and make it available to public, because I want to show people that, as Stephen Hawking said, there is no magic on the world, only field of physics, which we don't know yet. So now we know a lot more than we knew before. We just don't think in those in that way, you know. We have no habit of analyzing things this way. So I thought 20 laws of physics, of magic, sorry, and we were talking about it in the context of how it plays a role with quantum physics, which we know today, and with this concept of we are one. And majority of those laws are used in dowsing. For example, the fact that if one of the laws says that if object 1 and B are in contact, then after separation, they stay in contact forever. Okay, that's the working with the witness. When I will have your picture, or if I know you, I can connect with you and I can use my pendulum to find different things about you. And of course, it's a blessing and a curse, because everyone can get to me, who knows me, can get to me, to my energy field. But also it's a blessing because I can help people. Or we can help people, we can help each other. And we really need each other.
Mm.
Even
And I
if we like solitary life,
then
we still need each other.
just would like to just interject there, because I think what you're talking to, and it's really fascinating, is that this is where you said energy work healers tap into this, the higher dimensions, even depending on how we view it. This could be our deep soul self, as well as opening up those channels. And when we're more guided to our higher purpose in life, our true soul direction, as opposed to our egotistical mindset, when we realize that we have this ability to energetically connect with other people, we wouldn't use that in a negative way or a controlling way, because that's ego. We would do that in more of a beneficial sharing way, because that's the direction that our soul
Oh,
self.
absolutely. Absolutely. But when we use the therapeutic pendulums to clear ourselves and supply ourselves on an ongoing basis with the frequency of white light or gold light, then we less and less, or rather we are losing the tendency to manipulate and control other people. Because you see, that is, people say, and I also often say, that we do not need a God who will punish us for things done wrong, because we are our best enemies. That's right. We can punish ourselves endlessly for every stupid thing we have done. And we have no mercy on ourselves. That's right. So why now the question is why it happens? Why we have this quality in us? Because I still think it's a quality. It's a very good quality. If we say control, if we can control it, or if we can monitor it rather, and and play with it through the light, through the access to light. Because we were born with this compass, this spiritual compass, which comes from the source, from the highest source, which allows us to distinguish between good and bad. And this compass allows us also to know, sometimes, well, time have to pass for us to see from perspective if that was done wrong or not, because we see the consequences of our actions. But this compass allows us to distinguish between good and bad. When we made an error, when we did good deeds, and so on. So we don't need anyone who will punish us or who will tell us what it is, because the spark of the highest is us, to help us. Now, again, the pendulums which radiate the frequencies, high frequencies, will bring more of those. So we are farther away from the lower energies, which are not compatible anymore with our way of thinking, with our actions, with our desires, and so on. So that's the difference. That's actually the reason why we're losing so-called friends with time. And if one is smart enough not to be judgmental and say, oh well, they are too low for me, they are less, I am higher, then it means that this person is not really higher. But anyway, but we are going, and people are falling off our lifetime or lifeline, actually, and you are attracted, and they are and all of a sudden you see the people around who who are interested in dowsing, and they will tell you, oh, I do this and I use it for this and you have new friends. Because in fact, we are never alone, never. And it's not because I'm a reverend I can tell this, but because that's the fact. We always have our friends we came with here. They are mostly extremely bored with us because we don't ask them about anything. And they are based on free will and choice. So they are walking behind and say, oh my goodness, say something. Oh, we can help you to do this. So I always say to people who take my courses or whatever, I say, tell them, just be true, be open. Say, I cannot hear you. And you probably know it very well. I cannot hear you, but I do trust that you hear me. So if in your group there is someone who is very good in shopping, then step up because we are going shopping and push me kind of, without creating harm to my physical body, toward a certain store because I'm looking for this. Or if any of you is good in writing, step up and take a lead because we will now write this article. And I'm struggling with it, as you can see. And they are more than happy to help. So we need to remember we are never alone. Never, ever. Even if it seems like we have always those who are guides. I call them friends. Sometimes I say it's my gang and we go together and so on. Just because I say, well, let's go to do shopping, guys. Or let's travel to Massachusetts or whatever. You know, and that's how this relationship starts to grow. But then the pendulums, which release the energy, helps you to increase your abilities. Because yes, we are not necessarily often on the same wavelength to communicate, to hear each other, but we can get closer by clearing our own and expanding our own energy field, our own vibrations, and so on. Don't forget that there are two factors which create a wavelength, which is frequency, wave, which is frequency and wavelength. Yes. So shorter the wavelengths, which means length of the wave, higher frequency it is, because it's when you squeeze sinusoid like this and you will make it that much, then it will be like that. That's right. But also you can put more in the same time unit, like per second, for example, you will have 50 Hertz, because that was Mr. Hertz, German physicist, who defined it. That's why we defined it in Hertz, 50 Hertz or 60 Hertz or 20 Hertz or whatever. Now, higher the frequency is, which means shorter the wavelength, more penetrating it becomes. And that's why X-ray can penetrate, and it will stop at the very dense matter, which means bones, and give us the picture of the bones, or any other disturbances in our organs, depending on the frequencies. But it also goes higher, and we are heard more clearly and higher when we operate on shorter frequency, or shorter wavelength, sorry, and higher frequency. So if we will supply ourselves on almost ongoing basis with the frequency of gold or frequency of white light, then we can talk to higher sources. And not only can they hear us, but also through the pendulum, which moves only yes or no, but we can also hear or find out the answer to our problems. So if I say, well, I would like to know if I will go to Poland this summer, and it hesitated and say yes. But it was very much hesitating at the beginning. So just because very many aspects of this final decision is not here yet. I just gave the exact example. So you may not hear them through your physical ears, but you will be aware of the answer. So I think that's kind of everyday application for everyone of those higher vibrations pendulums.
No, that's fascinating. Thank you, Alicia, for sharing all of that. And I do like how you sort of wrap this in with the Aquarian age that we are in, that I know. And it's almost like you said right at the beginning or in the introduction, it's ancient Egyptian wisdom coming back. And it's, when you were talking, it's almost like a remembering that we do know this. We've forgotten about that. So using these pendulums, especially a lot of your pendulums are attuned to these higher frequencies and vibrations, that we remember that we can all step into the Aquarian I know and tap into those higher vibrations and be guided more with the fact that we are, I call it a conduit, a channel that allows our communication from these higher sources, beings, entities, higher consciousness, whatever you want to call it, into, say, this plane of existence to help us sort of
Yes, absolutely.
manifest something better here. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. I know you do want to say a little bit more, but I wanted to talk a little bit about your wonderful pendulums, because you're offering, and also your courses, because you're offering our listeners a fantastic and a very generous offer of 20% across everything that you're offering. And it is for a select period of time, though, which is all listed below. So can you talk a little bit more about some of your pendulums? You've also got some dowsing rods, you've got some wonderful jewelry, and also your courses as well.
Yes, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. So on our website, you can find a category which is called dowsing tools, and you may find different pendulums there, which are basic and not basic. I suggest that that people will upgrade kind of themselves to therapeutic pendulums, because they are self-clearing, which is quite important, because there is no doubt of how should I treat them and so on. They are more sensitive just because they release energy, so they automatically become more sensitive to energy. And there are two types of therapeutic pendulums, those which work with white light and gold light. And the simplest distinguish between white light and gold light pendulums would be that they all very good in answering your questions and solving the problems, but in therapy, white light pendulums are more dedicated to physical material issues, health challenges, okay? Golden light, because it comes from the father, kind of, from the highest source, then gold light pendulums are to find spiritual reasons, purposes of this, why we are getting this, what is the emotional, spiritual background of it. Is it from this life, past lives, and all those, all those things. So if there is emotional problem, then I would rather approach it from the golden light point of view than if liver malfunctions, for example, which is definitely white light thing. That's why healers normally grow into a few, some white, some, some not, some gold pendulums. There is a very interesting pendulum which looks like this, and it's very complex, and it's the only pendulum which nobody really, no Indian or China, no any other country which have tendency to replicate products will do, which is called Mer Isis, and it's white light pendulum, but extremely effective with removing pain. And we have really problem with pain, with people suffering for pain in different aspect of the pain. And you mentioned jewelry, which we make or which we offer, are based on sacred geometry. I'm not interested in offering jewelry for the beauty of it. I have them, of course, in my collection of jewelry from my mom and so on, but it's not my cup of tea. And the stores are filled with beautiful jewelry, which means absolutely vibrates absolutely nothing except for maybe vibration of stones in them. But the frequency of shapes is again the interesting aspect of it is that they radiate regardless of your awareness. So either you know what it is for or not, it is vibrating. That's why on our website we have longer description of each shape, so people will know, and before one buys it, they will know, is it good for me or not? Is it something what I need or not? Because there are shapes with which withstand the proof of time for thousands of years, and really we don't really know, but it looks nice to my eyes, just because the truth is, I was using it when I was living in ancient Egypt or China or whenever. Yes, but were you using it to bring good or bad things in life, So we normally do not have things which brings bad things to people, rather to clear them, but like King Solomon's seal and things like this, and objects like this. But we need to remember, and that is, I think, very good occasion to talk about it, that before you will buy a shape, you need to do your own research. What this shape represents, how can I use it, and how can it misuse it if? Because, as I said, it will work regardless of what. That's the beauty. The curse is that it works always. So, and again, in this special, which I am very happy to offer to you for limited amount of time, there are also courses. Just because in this age of I know, people need to know more, and need to know more, not beautiful story, but the truth about this. So, for example, if there is a course about colors, then I'm talking about the colors from advertisement for point of view, from mating point of view, and so on. So we will really have we will be able to take advantage of this knowledge, not only have a knowledge which is good for theoretical discussions only. Okay, so and there is a science of dowsing category in which there are courses which just deepen your understanding of different fields of dowsing. So just browse through it, because there is so many products and so many, and we are trying to have the products which are unique, which are hard to get or impossible to get because they are made for us. And if someone does products for us, I need to know the person. So I travel, I meet the person, because if the object radiates the energy, then the energy of producer goes into the object as well. So I need to know the person who we will cooperate with, and I want to know their approach to life, and and what energy will go into those products, which we further on will offer to others. So enjoy, because I think that there is a lot of things to learn about from our website, even if you don't want to buy anything, just to learn. And
no, that's one thing I would just like to say. It's like on your website, there's just so much information. You're so generously sharing your knowledge like you have today. And it's a lot of it too. I really love how you weave the sort of the scientific web into all the esoteric and metaphysical stuff, giving that solid foundation, giving an understanding as to why things happen, but also all the other threads like the sacred geometry, the ancient Egypt connection with the vibration and the frequency, and you bring it all together into a fantastic package or uniqueness that then is reflected in not only your courses, but also the pendulums and the jewelry and the dowsing rods. So everything has a purpose to connect us back to our soul self, so we can then share our gifts more readily with everybody
yes.
else and step into the I know, as you said, the new world. And unfortunately, Alicia, we have come to the end of
I
our
am so
time.
sorry, because it's a pleasure to talk to you and your audience.
Oh, it was it's very wonderful. And thank you again so much for sharing all your wisdom with us so generously. And it's been an absolute delight having you here again. And below the recording is the link to intuitivedowsing.com. Please check it out and also take advantage of the 20% offering, because it's only for a short period of time. The details are all given below. So Alicia, thank you once again for joining us.
And I wish all of you wonderful, the best year ever, the year which will bring a lot of changes, but let's hope that all those changes, however it may not look like, will bring positive results and will be all on the other side of it, happy, healthy, and absolutely fantastic.
That's wonderful blessing. Thank you very much for that. And to everybody who's watching this, Natalia, thank you. I hope you have enjoyed this wonderful discussion with Alicia as much as I have, and I look forward to seeing you again next time. Thank you and blessings.